Good morning, students. Today I'm going to show you how to conjugate Spanish verbs because this week's assignments are all about that. And you have to understand how to deal with verbs in Spanish or you're not going to get these assignments done correctly. So in Spanish, all verbs end in either AR, ER, or IR. In order to state what the subject is doing, like who's doing what, you have to change the original form of the verb. So you can't just look up a verb in the dictionary and then leave it like that. No, you have to put it in the correct form. So to do this, you have to remove the ending, the AR, the ER, the IR off your verb, and then you determine who the subject is, like, am I talking about myself? Is it you, he, she? Is it we, or is it they? Is it you, plural? So you just have to determine that and then add the correct ending. So you can do this. Let's look at some verbs. So AR verbs, here's some examples. Hablar, to speak. Caminar, to walk. And trabajar, to work. So see how all three end in AR? So how do you conjugate a verb in Spanish? Okay, take off the AR, then add the ending. So if your subject is yo, which means I, you add an O. If it's tú, that is you familiar, like if you're talking to a familiar person, it's AS, él, ella, usted, or one name, so él is he, ella, she, usted is you, formal, or if it states a person's name like Pablo or Lisa, okay, if it's one name, your verb will end in A. Nosotros or nosotras means we, so you will add AMOS. Nosotras is for all females, okay? Ellos, ellas, ustedes, or two names takes AN. So ellos and ellas is they. Ellas is all girls. Ustedes is you, plural. Or if you have two names like Pablo y Lisa, then you add AN. So let's see how that looks. Here's the verb hablar, to speak. So you would take off the AR, and then for yo, remember we said add O, tú, add AS, él, ella, usted, add an A, nosotros, nosotras, AMOS, so hablamos, ellos, ellas, ustedes, hablan, because you added AN. So remember, for yo, it's O, for tú, it's AS, él, ella, usted, it's an A, nosotros, nosotras, AMOS, and ellos, ellas, ustedes, AN. Now, can you conjugate this all by yourself? Caminar. So go ahead and pause this video and try to conjugate this on your own. And then when you're finished, you can check your answers on the next slide. Okay? If you came up with this, camino, caminas, camina, caminamos, caminan, you are correct. So as you noticed, maybe, I no longer said yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, and ellos, ustedes, because in Spanish, when you conjugate a verb, you do not have to state the subject pronoun. Okay, if I just say camino, it ends in O, so I know that it's going to be yo. Like caminas is AS, so we know that's going to be tú. Okay? All right, that's AR verbs. Now, ER verbs. So here's a whole other category of verb that's ends in ER. So here are some examples. Comer, to eat. Correr, to run. Ver, to see. Ser, to be. Creer, to believe. So all of these end in ER. Okay? So if you were to conjugate comer, to eat, remember, take off the ER and add como, comes, come, comemos, comen. So we just took off the ER and added an O, an ES, an E, EMOS, EN. Okay, and lastly, we have IRs. So for IR, I have escribir, to write, subir, to climb, ir, to go, and salir, to leave. So if you wanted to conjugate escribir, you would take off the IR, and then we're going to add for yo an O, so it's escribo. For tú, you add ES, so escribes, él, ella, usted, add an E, escribe, nosotros, nosotras, add IMOS, escribimos, and ellos, ellas, ustedes, escriben, you add an EN. So if you look at this verb, you will see that the endings for IRs are actually the same as the ER verbs, except in nosotros, in the nosotros form, we add IMOS, not EMOS. Okay? All right, awesome. So you may have to watch this video various times until you get it, but this is pretty much the basics of how to conjugate Spanish verbs. Congratulations!